Hi, my name is AJ Parr, and today I'm going to talk about an incident that took place in the year 2014 when Michael, a correctional officer at a maximum security state prison, left his duties after working a double night shift. He did not suspect that his life was about to change forever. While driving back home and after dozing off at the wheel, he suffered a terrible car accident that would have killed 99.9% of the people. But somehow, he got out without a scratch.
So this is a little video of what happened to me last night. Check that. Here's my lovely van. Now, I was trapped underneath there for about 20-something minutes. You know, still handsome, but that was pretty bad. You don't really survive that. Be safe. Wear your seatbelt.
During the accident, he had a unique near-death experience as well as what is known as a walk-in. According to Ruth Montgomery, who popularized the term in her 1979 book, Strangers Among Us, there are walk-ins on this planet, tens of thousands of them, enlightened beings who, after successfully completing numerous incarnations, have attained sufficient awareness of the meaning of life that they can forego the time-consuming process of birth and childhood, returning directly to an adult body. According to Mike, the soul that entered his body during his crash has granted him certain abilities such as mediumship and soul reading. Slowly after, he knew things like the Kabbalah and other mystical scriptures without ever learning them. His transformation now allows him to assist people suffering from severe depression, fear, anxiety, and more. In sum, Michael now claims he did not have a normal NDE and that he is a walk-in, and that his soul has been here for ages. We are here with Michael. He had what some people might call a near-death experience. He later understood that this is not a usual near-death experience because while he was having this experience, he felt the presence of someone else. And that someone else was another soul who stepped in into his body, and it's what people call a walk-in. So this is a phenomenon that we're going to talk about. It's not very usual, but I have met people who have had this experience, and there are also famous people who have experienced this. But right now I want to say hello to Michael. How are you, Michael? I'm glad you're here.
Thank you so much, AJ. I'm doing good. I'm doing good spiritually. Even ironically enough, I'm just healing from a very painful back surgery, but my soul has never been happier.
Okay, so I understand that you had a severe car accident, and I would like to start out with that. You were working as a security guard in a prison, right?
Yes, I worked at a maximum security prison in Southern Illinois. And for the people who are not familiar, a maximum security prison houses probably the worst of the worst criminals in that state. So you can imagine the level of intensity, the level of fear, agony, rage, and all those bad emotions, because unfortunately, at the time, some of them inmates were still engaging in their activities, were still having the same intentions. So that was a place I worked for 2 years and a few months. And At the time, I was just soaking in this energy like a sponge every day, every shift. And I used to work the night shift. And it's very important to mention for later on that I used to commute to work 1 hour each way. So it was every night.
This was how long ago?
This was in 2014.
Okay. And you had been working there for several years?
It was a couple of years. It was,
Okay.
it was actually, you know, in terms of the prison and the people that worked there at the time, it was a newbie. So
Okay.
I worked there because it was a very well-paying job, and coming from overseas, and at the time having military experience and police experience, and I was a martial arts instructor. So I had all these tools to do security-oriented jobs. And at the time, I was materialistic, I guess. I was just chasing through everything that money can buy. And I got that job, and I was really working hard as a new immigrant to pass an academy and to pass the screening. And it needed a lot of willpower at the time. And I remember that I had that, and I worked there, and a little over 2 years. But again, even a day there would be enough for the average person to rethink that job.
Okay, so tell me about your accident. You were leaving your job after a night shift, right?
Yes. So like I said, at the time, there were mandatory overtime shift. Almost every night we went in, and instead of working 9 hours, we worked 14 hours, and we couldn't say no. And unless it was our day off, the day after, the morning after, then we would have to stay. So I was already worn out from all these long shifts, and the time for my day off arrived, and it was a Tuesday morning. And if I can even get symbolic here and describe something that I often forget to describe, is that the sequence of numbers, it was on a Tuesday at 7:33 on a place called Route 3. So there's a lot of things that I was just looking at, and it was my third year at prison. So it was like 2 years and a few months. And I just came back to work, and that morning they couldn't mandate me for overtime. So I remember that I was like excited, and I was like, I'm going to spend some time with my kids, and I'm gonna go get me something to eat. And I was single at the time, went through a divorce. So I was just getting ready to just have a good evening and relaxing. And I went into my van. I had a minivan because I wanted to have a lot of room for my children. And I went back home, and about 10 minutes into the drive, I'm driving in this road, like I said, called Route 3. And speed limit was, I think it was 70 miles per hour there, something like that. And I'm driving, which is a straight line, just straight drive, nothing special, a bunch of cornfields. And here I am driving, and apparently, looking back, I can only guess that I was either dozing off, or I fell asleep for a split second and didn't realize that something distracted me. But I just remember opening my eyes to a complete different reality. I had no control over the vehicle. The wheel locked, the brakes locked, and seems like there was no hydraulic fluids in them, and I just couldn't, everything was so heavy and impossible to move. And all of a sudden, I'm starting hydroplaning, spinning. And that was also according to the police report and the newspaper article that was written after that I was hydroplaning that speed. And all I remember from that is that I know that I kind of surprised myself, not freaking out the way that I know that I would have freaked out any other day. And I know that I was trying to keep calm and operate the situation. And I looked at the speed gauge, and I remember that I was hoping and praying that the speed's going to decrease while I'm just maintaining control of the vehicle, and then I'm just going to slow down to a complete stop or crash, but not hard. And then instead, I see the speed gauge going up. So like 70, 75, 80, 85. I'm like, what's going on here? What am I doing? And before I even get to look straight ahead of me, I see that car coming from the other lane, from the opposite lane. And note that it was around 7:15, 7:20 a.m., 7:33. I know the impact was 7:33, but it was like little bit earlier, it was school time, so people, parents drop their kids off, and I see that mom and her two kids in the back. All I could see is just like a mother, a woman, and two kids, and I realized right away there was somebody dropping the kids off at school. So I'm like, I told myself, this was when I started talking to myself, and I said, you're not, no matter what happened, you messed up, take responsibility. You're not hitting other people because you fell asleep on the wheel, you were too tired or whatnot. And I just focused all my energy on just trying to turn the wheel to the right. And I managed to do it somehow. And then I see my van heading into this concrete pole or a block, or I don't know what it was. It was just standing there in the road, a separated divider. And then as I'm heading on, I remember again that I got the feeling is like I'm not freaking out or bracing or blocking because I know my nature. I like these martial arts reflexes, and I'm always blocking. And all of a sudden, I'm not doing it. I'm just holding the wheel. And then as I'm heading towards that wall, that thing, I'm smiling. And time started to slow down, like a slow motion. Like all of a sudden, I'm losing sense of time. And I remember just being surprised, but I haven't hit anything yet. Even if I'm something like to myself, even if I'm dead, but I haven't hit anything to be dead. I didn't want to take it. I knew that I would be terrified. I would be doing something like to just, block. And there's something else that took over at that time, smiling like it's welcoming, like it's just, hey, you're just about to hit a wall. And I start laughing, and part of me, the day after, trying to figure out, why did I laugh? Because I remembered everything. Even the day after, I didn't have any, till this day, I'll tell this story a million times in a million years, it'll always have the same, to the detail. Because I remember it like it was yesterday. It was traumatizing enough to remember, but it didn't put me out to be like, oh, I just woke up with a headache. What happened? None of that happened. And I remember the old me was be freaking out. And then it was I'm smiling and saying to myself, maybe I just thought that it was too stupid of a way to just die and just go. And I just kind of laughed at the situation, but no, that's not me. And all of a sudden, I remember the impact. When the impact arrived, it was a blast. It was like an explosion of a missile. And I remember in the Gulf War, the first one as a kid, I saw missiles flying over my head, exploding in cities, living where I'm living. And I remember there was such a blast. And I was like, oh. And then I remember the airbag just coming like a little sheet flying in the wind. You just can see it deploying like a little white sheet. And then that's all I remember. The next thing I remember, because that was the only time that it was a gap, that from the impact, from the blast, to me waking up upside down. So I remember I woke up, I opened my eyes, knowing exactly, immediately when I opened my eyes, I knew exactly what happened. Exactly. And I'm like, okay, you're losing your mind now, because look at me. I'm underneath, upside down. Everything is crushing, falling down on me. I see the car. And earlier today, I posted in a group in my language, in the Hebrew language, a video that I never shared with anybody before. I'll share with you, of me walking around a few hours after the accident, walking around the car to examine the damage and telling people, hey, be careful, use your seatbelt, whatnot. So at the time, I was the whole car formed this knives, swords formation. And it was just, and you can see it clearly in the video how it's just crushed. And it was my side, it was the driver's side that got the most damage. All the damage, the whole impact was only on the driver's side. It was amazing. The roof, but you see if something aimed towards the driver. And I'm there and I'm upside down and I'm it's the best feeling in the world. And it's not the feeling I didn't see a bright light. I didn't see a tunnel. I had that bliss, but later on, of course, I know exactly where I've been. But at the time, I'm describing right now what I felt at the time. I told myself, wow, there's absolutely no sound in here. And it was for the first time, those noise cancellating headphones came out, those real good ones. Multiply it by a trillion. If you could, by a trillion. And then even then, it would be loud compared to what I didn't hear. And that's how I like to describe it. It's what I didn't hear. And it was completely comforting quiet. And aside from this comforting quiet, I realized that there was no smell, no pain. It was like somebody is there with you, and you know they're there with you. You don't know what they are, what it is, but you feel protected. And I remember that then the thing that I really thought was the coolest at the time was that I didn't have a thought at all. I've never in my life, and I don't think anybody who haven't gone through something like that, know what it's like to never think at all, to not have brainwave, but you're alive. That's the only explanation.
Were you aware at that moment of your surroundings? Were you still in the car? But
yes, the same thing.
But you felt like you were in another dimension or something because
yes, because it was our world. Okay, it was exactly our world. It was a little grayish. It was kind of like on the cloudy day, if you would, as far as like as far as like the vision of it. But it was spiritual. So I'm like, oh, it's like there's, and I was thinking at the time, I was like, there's steps to it. It's like we don't go straight to, we don't go, and then when I kind of look and feel the warmth and somebody's tickling me, and you can see the two are light. And then I told myself, it's like, so the bright light that people see is the reflection of their own soul. It's not that eternal light because we hear, and then it's like, there's literally levels. Or maybe everybody got his own story or her own story when they, I didn't know at the time. And I was just like so amazed more by the loss of senses. Everything was gone but the vision, the eyes. I was so amazed by it that I didn't care about like, I'm dead, I'm alive. I was like, just leave me here. And here I am stuck. But I was still stuck. I couldn't just fly out of the car. I was stuck, but nothing else was there. And it felt amazing. And all of a sudden.
You also mentioned that you felt that you were not alone, that there was a presence.
In the way of I felt protected. And I can describe it and explain it by, for example, and that's what I tell people today about the feeling. Sometimes we can be alone in the dark or it's pitch black and we don't know that place. Like we've never been, we go to a new structure and it's pitch black. And so, yes, we can just worry about what's going on. But then there's this feeling sometimes that you feel like I'm not alone. You can feel that drift. It's almost like a drift, but it's like invisible drift, but you're not alone. There's something here with you, and you turn the light immediately because this is the metaphor too. This is the way out, is the light. That's what we do with darkness. This is something that it's built in our soul, but we found it the physical translation there. However, I felt the opposite, like something good is with me. The drift was not a scary one, but a comfort. Later on, I know that it was an angel. And I guess this is why I changed my name to Michael all these years, never knowing that I'm going to meet for that time. That's who it was.
Okay, so is this the moment when the other soul entered your body, and how do you interpret it?
Aside from the time that I was about to hit that and I felt that I'm smiling, I never heard from that new soul until days after. Like it was back to the old me. Okay. And I just enjoyed myself. And it's like the old me was tamed. Like somebody would be like I'm gonna use telepathy, so I'm gonna mind control you, like in the way that it was the old me, but I wasn't freaking out. And I looked outside, and there she was. This is where I saw the figure that up until today I don't know who she was. But I think, as part of creation, there's many entities. Let's put it that way. It's not just angel. There's even amongst angels, there's billions of types of angels. But I see this lady, and she's dressed in black. And definitely the most noticeable thing about her were her clothes, that they were totally not 2014 at the time. They were more 1800s. and she had a headscarf. And I remember that she was in her mid-60s, and the only thing that kind of like made me repel in a way from her was that she had a burn scar on her one of her cheeks. I don't know if it was the left or the right. I don't remember that detail, but she had a noticeable burn scar.
Where did you
And
see her? Was she outside the car?
Yes. One time I had to make like a little mark on the picture. Like there's a picture of me and the firefighters trying to extract me out of the car and to tear the car up. And it's the car upside down, the firefighters, and there's a cornfield. And she was standing right outside my window, about probably 3-4 feet, and she was pacing and didn't say what, because there was no sound. Like I said, it was still that quiet. And she's just pacing. And I remember doing that. That's the only thing I remember, the only movement. I know I didn't even try to talk or scream because I knew that there was no sound. And I remember that I was doing it, and she just doing this, with her eyes closed, just nodding no. And the old me started to change kind of then, because knowing who I was, and I was like very short tempered at the time, and I would probably be like, why are you not helping, or getting upset or judgmental. And then all of a sudden, the change in my personality started taking its baby steps, and I didn't judge her. I was judging her for the positive, for the right. Meaning, I said, maybe she's just scared to hurt me while trying to assist me. Maybe she's just scared that the car is going to set on fire, and all these three things. Maybe she's just scared to do more damage. Or I was like, leave that woman alone. You need to get out, just get out. And I'm upside down, and all of a sudden I was like, okay, I can't get out. You want to help me? Just close your eyes, enjoy that really quick. Maybe you'll get up stronger and try to get out. Because I was kicking, and it was like nothing. I was kicking air. And the second I closed my eyes and opened them, I remember I didn't even have time to even blink and open it right away. And everything was like a movie was played. Like you hit play, life was there as you know it, as I used to know it prior. I'm sweating, I'm in my uniform, and the pressure and the car is completely crushed on me. And these people are screaming because of the amount of damage to the driver's side. They were positive that I was decapitated.
Which people were screaming?
Well, the first one, because when I opened it, and first I'll describe, like I said, the radio was on, the car was flowing, and I hear like the hoses, broken hoses sound like and smoke and gasoline. And it's like I didn't have the experience. It's like everything just happened after that big explosion. And I'm like, what's going on? And I'm like looking out, and I see this paramedic running, and then he's tackling like the car like a football player to try to get to me. And he's just screaming, and I hear him echoing, but he's like, don't move, don't move, don't move, nonstop. I'm trying to help you. Talk to me, talk to me. And I was like, sir, I'm okay. And I'm now physically trapped in those swords and in those, I'm okay, I'm okay. He was like, you're not okay. There's no way you're okay. You think you're okay. Then he was trying to make me believe that I'm hallucinating. I was like, I'm okay. And he's running to me, and he's like giving me IV through the window. He's like, don't move, I'm going to give it to you. And I was like, can't you just get me out of here? And he was like, no, we can't. We have to get the firefighters, and they'll get the jaws of life. And I remember that these firefighters came in there and start drilling, and they use the disc, and they're cutting, and they're doing all these sort of things. Worked on me for like 20 something minutes. And until they got me out, and they get me out, and they rip my uniform really quick, and then give me like a shot of morphine to my stomach. And I wasn't even in pain. And I'm like, I'm just keep saying I'm okay, I'm okay. And they won't listen to me. And I didn't want them to use force. They put me in this stretcher. They rushed me to the ambulance, and to the hospital we go, to the nearest ER, ICU. The whole time I'm saying, like, what do these people want from me? I wish I could have just stayed in that situation, because there's no way on earth. And I didn't look at the car, just let them do their thing and take me. I didn't even see the damage, none of that. I just saw dozens of people out there, and media and whatnot. And I'm like, what's going on? And I remember that I was in the ambulance, and I asked the sheriff deputy lady, I was like, I don't know, I think that's who it was, or it was a cop. And I was like, hey, why didn't that lady help me? Like, isn't it against the law? Like, somebody sees somebody like that and not even calling, not even trying to help, not even, and she's like, "What are you talking about, sir? We were the first in the scene. You just gotta just calm down." And I remember going to the hospital, and the chaos continues. Everybody came there with all the imaging equipment and treated me like a VIP, like were rushing to me and doing all that stuff. And I don't even have to move or be taken with a wheelchair or nothing. Just so a doctor can come in there and be like, "I'm gonna have to let you go." And I was like, "What are you talking about, sir?" He said, "You don't even have a bruise, not even one of those purple marks, and not even that. The only tiny little cut, kind of like a shaving cut that I had on my hand was because after the event, the incident, when the firefighters pulled me out, apparently my arms were spread open and it touched one of the windows that broke. But it wasn't even noticeable. I didn't even need a Band-Aid. But I go home. After a couple of hours, and 99% of people, and anybody who would just look at the pictures that I'm sure you saw, would say 99 would die, and then if there's survivors, there'll be somebody with completely broken back and broken bones or something. And I came out of there with nothing. And then I started doing the math. I was like, the experience that I had, plus this, what's going on here? And then the dreams, the panic attacks, the insomnia, the visions that made me leave my job. I ended up going to a psychiatrist because nobody would realize what's going on with me. I would see stuff that would end up a friend of mine taking me right before I'm going to work when I'm in my uniform to the ER because of a panic attack of things that I saw. And they saw and they thought that I'm having a heart attack. And I got all the records. And instead it was like, "You're just having a panic attack. Why is that?" And it's like, I don't know that I'm having a panic attack. I'm just seeing those things. And I'm like,
Okay,
I didn't know how to.
let's rewind a bit.
Yes.
Why did you get the panic attack, and what were you seeing?
I would have dreams that would start with me not wanting to go back to sleep because they were not even scary. They were not scary more than they were. I felt in a place where I was scared, like a stage fear type. It's more of respect, scare, honor, power, something that was too powerful to be around. There is such fear that it's not the fear that something bad's going to happen to you, but it's the power that is scary to even be around if you're not worthy, if you know what I mean. And I'm just laying in my bed, closing my eyes, falling asleep, and I look above me and there's no ceiling, I just see the stars. And then there are 7 moons formed, 3 on each side and one big one in the middle. And they're all full moons. And here I go up, like the middle moon is magnetizing me, just pulling me up to it. And the closer I get to it, the more I get that stage fear, and it's increasing, increasing, increasing. And then to a point when I get really scared and open my eyes and wake up with cold sweats. All the time. All the time. It happens and it happens. And I don't know why. And I read, I try to read, and everything is like different when I read, and I can't even match any type of information or cross it with what I had. And then it started being angels and the angel Michael, and that's his name in Hebrew. And it's mighty, and he's talking to me. He's like, "You have to help." Like in Hebrew, it said mitzvah, which is the deed, which is the commandment. It said it's a commandment to help and commitment to help. All of a sudden, I would get that, and at the same time, it's almost like I needed to be myself. Baptism in the worst type of the depression and troubles and stuff that came my way without me choosing, in order to be ready for that, to know how to help. And all of a sudden, I'm like having this knowledge of letters and dream interpretations. And then I'm seeing people and I almost know what they're feeling without even talking to them. I'm making friendships based on me seeing people's light level. Like if they were dim or if they were bright, I don't see body. All of a sudden, I don't care. I start not caring at all about money. I just live to exist. And I'm like, this is what I need to do. So in the beginning, when it was really new to me, I was not really focusing on what I'm supposed to do, and I was all over the place. So I was doing reading to a friend, and I remember my ex-wife at the time when we married shortly after the incident, a few months, almost a year after, and she used to call me clairvoyant light. She was like, what clairvoyant might think about this? Boom, I hit it. What clairvoyant might thinks about that? And every time I did it, I felt like there's bad energies that come in my way in the physical life. Like, so I felt like I'm almost not supposed to do anything like that, because every time I do, here I'm getting challenged, and I was like stopping with that. And all of a sudden, life's taking me to places that I don't realize how I end up in. Because I had PTSD from the prison and military service in a mental institution for 2 days, because I got to a point when I was depressed. And I just told my wife, I said, hey, I don't want to do this no more. I mean, you guys don't realize I was just talking like, not like I want to kill myself, but I said, this is not real life. I've been in real life. Like I know the difference. And here I am, ended up to 48 hours. Everybody know I don't belong there. The doctor's telling me that I don't, but I ended up helping these people who are there. I leave the place, I get a bag of letters from these people who have never opened up to anybody else prior to that. Then anybody can go and I can give the name of the institution and everything. And this gentleman who never used to talk and say a word when he was there told me thank you and wrote me a letter too. And for the first time, we talked. And I'm like, whoa. And then I started realizing, I said, this is not me being put in challenge. It's me going into these places to pick up others because I needed to be there in the flesh. And then it stopped being in me just having the problems. It's just me initiating and meeting and helping and picking them up from the floor. See it as, like I told you, a soul doctor. Somebody who's if a soul had a brain surgeon or somebody who was supposed to fix something that psychology and psychiatry and others stop at one point and they medicate you. But nobody really goes deep to the root of what we really are as somebody who's been there. And this is my mission. I crave it. I do it automatically, and nothing of this world is distracting me right now. And I needed to meet my wife. I needed to come here. I needed to have this back surgery in order to do it full time and even talk to you right now. So this is where we are 7 years after, when I realized that I completely changed. I don't feel the same towards my family.
When did you realize there was another soul within you? And when did you conclude that you were having a walk-in experience?
The first part was that like I said, when I was married, I changed as a person. I started being depressed. And prior to that, the people who knew me, the Mike, up until the accident, straightforward in high school, was popular, funny, always, level. Like I didn't have any, like I lived life to the fullest. I had a happy life. At least I made it. Like I was very independent. I did what I wanted. I never, I lived my life, I think, to the fullest because I was able to allow myself to make any mistake possible at the time. And all of a sudden, that person after that is completely different. He's more depressed. He's more sad. He's more worry. Yes, I still had my old memories and everything was kind of like blending. And I got to a point when I was like, am I getting like bipolar? Am I like, do I have a split personality? Do I have like, what's going on here? Like, who am I? And then maybe I started convincing myself, oh, it's the marriages, it's the decision you make in life and kids. Like people change. But I didn't know I would change that drastically. So I was just going to this deep, dark stage where I learned in the process that this is just the preparation for ascension, for the light to bloom, just like a flower, just like a birth. I was in a birth canal. I imagine a baby in a birth canal. You know how much stress there is on that baby and the mother at that time? This is where she pushes and the baby is like getting their head even reshaped just so you can come to life. That was my time. It was 5 years of that. And when they decided to come to Israel, and when I met my wife, who's happened to be my twin flame, and she's connected the puzzle and all these physical agonies now that I have with my back to see the evil, everything is balanced, and the evil cannot mess with me mentally anymore. I'm triumphed when it comes to that. This is it. And now I'm like helping others. I'm in a position to pick people up. Spiritually, that's my soul's mission. But physically now I'm getting all these trials and stuff. And I still I still do the best to know that I cannot be distracted from what I'm supposed to do, which is that let people know. That's it, to know that there are souls. Let people who lost loved ones to know that you can mourn and that's okay. But also learn to celebrate the fact that your loved one now is in its original form, blessing you with no pain, where there's no evil, when there's eternity, and we are the ones dying. And when people will have this understanding, they will look at death differently. It will not be something too sad, but we'll know how to communicate, because when we stop mourning and we start having a relationship with the deceased, because when somebody passes, it doesn't mean their soul changes. Everything that's based on now, aside from this physical body, is souls. I'm talking to you, I'm talking to your soul. And the same goes when they lose their bodily form. But we need to know that and not just believe that and not have a doubt, because doubts are locking us in this physical form even deeper.
Who do you think the spirit that walked in is? And do you think it could be your own higher self, your own spirit from the future that came?
You know, if that's the case, I would have been honored. Honored. Don't know. I know that I am different because I started to get to realization I'm speaking as the new soul. And it's all happened very recently when I realized about the walk-in and I start reading about other sources, and then everything matched. Every little sentence about that walk-in and the Kabbalistic incubation part, which I can send you a link later on that you can also maybe post. And this is amazing. The same thing. And what I read about it in both New Age terms and Kabbalistic old Jewish mysticism terms is that the souls have like a pre-agreement. And they're saying that because you've lived your life long, we're going to have to sub. And when we sub, the new one's going to come. It's going to have a mission to change, to influence. Or if you want another chance of life, we're going to have to make this exchange. And the exchange says this. Part of the soul either stays, or at least the memories, everything, the memories, the soul, so you don't go crazy. But it's for the good. Somebody's coming in. I don't know if they're pushing you completely away. Could be. I don't know yet. I haven't reached that stage. Or they're just swapping completely, which what I feel it is, to somebody way more knowledgeable, to like an old soul, to somebody who's like, nothing excites me. It's almost like I've lived 1,000 lifetimes and I know how it's like, and I'm really, really missing morality, which this world is lacking. I look at this world as in terms like I was way older than my age now. So I know it's not me. Maybe, I don't know. But what the most fascinating thing that I realized about this phenomena, maybe it's new to you as well, I'm not sure, my friend AJ, but is that the good part of it is the walking. It's a very positive phenomenon. You go through tribulations, then you help souls, you bring it up. There is equivalent, like I told you, there is balance between the spiritual, good, evil, spiritual, physical, light, darkness. The equivalent and the negative is possession. Possession is a negative walking, okay. And it is real.
I have been studying this phenomenon, and there are different types of walk-ins. I understand that there is one type in which the old soul, or the soul that has been in the body until that moment, leaves completely, and another one steps in. But after listening to you, there is the second type of walk-ins, which I think is the one you are experiencing. In that case, the original soul remains and the other soul walks in because they have a previous soul agreement. So they are following a mission, and they do this, they reach this agreement because they need to help others, okay? And it's called a soul braid, and they work together. I read that you were offering spiritual advice and soul alignment. Also, you assist people with severe depression, fear, bullying, loss,
Yeah.
insecurity, anxiety. Okay, can you mention some of these cases without mentioning the name of the person, but which people have you treated people, have you helped people, and can you mention
Yes,
something interesting about that?
of course, of course, of course. I have an example from almost everything, including the mediumship. If you're interested to know about that, especially depression and severe depression and mental illnesses. My advice does not come to by no means replace or modify or do anything medical. It's not a medical advice. It's an advice to the soul. It's reaching way deeper. And it's almost like dealing with what society would call lost cases. Because, see, all these, what is a mental illness? That is an illness to the soul in the end of the day. It's something that is not physical. It's something that you cannot, in most cases, see in a CT scan or an X-ray. It's something that is mostly never really treated, but controlled. And if these people are dangerous, then they'll be locked up. And if these people are not, then they'll just be under medication and supervision. But a lot of people don't realize that if you dig deeper, if you peel that fruit a little bit deeper, you'll see that the problems lay on the soul. I talk to people who had schizophrenia, and I'm not going to mention the individual. I said that he's been told stuff in his ears, and he doesn't recognize the voice, there's a lot of profanity, and it's not who he, and that's one of the signs of schizophrenia. And I spoke to him and spoke to his heart, and all of a sudden I'm having a chat with whoever is whispering in the ear. And I don't even know, and this is where maybe I can agree with you, because I'm still searching that my old soul remained, because I've always had these moments when I was like, wow, like what made you say that? Or, you know what I mean? Like stuff like that. And it comes, and it's quite interesting. And all of a sudden I was having a chat with whoever was doing this to him. And I said, would you please leave him? Everybody makes mistakes. He will learn. Like, he will grow in spirituality. We will speak about it. I'm almost like playing his advocate, his attorney to these whatever voices in his ear. And he was still diagnosed with schizophrenia and other things, but he was way, way better. Way better. Some of my students, I used to use my martial arts, and I used to just spice it with my soul advice without them even knowing. Because motivation, anything positive in this world, that nobody needs to really have gone through a walk-in experience or a near-death experience to know that our soul knows and craves positive. Anything that can do good for you and others, and anything that is the opposite of bad. And once you start manipulating in a way these emotions and show people their true soul potential, you see them bloom like a flower. Like, especially today, I was, another example, talking to this mom who lost her child 3 months ago. 3 months ago, he was, she's, according to her, a child with special needs, and he had very, very rare disease. So he was like, he wasn't supposed to grow older than what it was, I guess, from what I understood. And she was talking to me, and when I first heard it, and I was like, you know what? And she was trying to deal with the loss. I mean, that's what she turned to my wife and to me. And I remember telling her that I'm already a fan and honored to talk to her, because she's already leveled up for somebody who just buried their child. And I told her that burying a child is the worst spiritual torture you can ever apply on a human soul. Nothing else you would do, not a breakup from your loved one, nothing can equivalent to the sorrow and agony you would have from burying a child. It's against nature, like I always say. And I told her, for somebody who buried a child that young, and you're still talking to me in a normal voice and not crying, because some moms, somebody who didn't have your light yet, who wouldn't be as strong spiritually, would either talk to me while crying or be on the floor and not be ready to talk to anyone at the moment. And then the fact that you're talking to me 3 months after and reaching out for answers is amazing, astonishing. And then we start speaking about how she needs to see that as a special soul who came into the world just to correct something, maybe to take upon itself other people's bad, spiritual attacks that they were supposed to get. Something was supposed to happen, and that soul went right back to heaven. It didn't even have time to sin. Somebody with special needs and who's have rare diseases and a child, I don't think choose to do bad or even think about bad, but they're supposed to be there. And the fact that you as the mother had the privilege and honor to carry that child and to have to go through the sorrow of bearing that child, that's right there a comfort. If so I taught her to just celebrate the honor of having to go through these trials and know that when we all pass, she's going to look back and say, hey, remember when I was in this physical body and I was crying to see you and so sad and I wasn't even supposed to, because now here we are eternal. Here we are in our true form. Here we are away from this world of lies, because this is what it is, a one big illusion. That is a test for the soul. And I told her, not anybody would get to have to go through this test. You were chosen for that. So you already are. And then you see the smile, all of a sudden their eyes open up and you can see how the soul is happy, even though they don't tell you. They try to keep a straight face, and then you see that smile just forming and the eyes expanding. And then you get the thank you letters and people connect to the frequency. I like to, and I don't know how I do it, but I get into their frequency. So it's like harmony and they enjoy it. So.
Why did you wait 7 years to go public?
Well, 5 years of them were a mess, which, there's depression, divorce, all these problems. And I'm still, I don't want to say stuff because I don't spiritually suffering from anything anymore, of course, but I'm still dealing with the aftermath of that. It was pretty severe. And then the past year and a half, I found my twin flame and I realized that I'm finally myself and I have so much love in me and I'm charged up. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to, and things just happen on their own. And I'm like, I woke up and one time I read that somebody, because I was sharing my MDE stuff because I was helping people, but I didn't know about the walking. You asked about that. And that happened only a few days ago. I went and my wife put a post, and in one of these groups, somebody says, because I didn't know, I was like, I'm looking, I'm soul searching. I still don't know. I was always asking for help to see what somebody went through something similar. And all the NDE stories, nothing was like that. They're all seeing the light, they're all, being in a place with flowers. And I was just like here stuck in a car crash and nothing is really interesting happening aside from this, no senses in that lady that walked by. And then my spirit, my whole character changes. And then somebody said, you're walking, and I start reading it. And then my heart just jumped. And I told my wife, I said, wow, look, this is it. And with that, everything automatically just fell into place. And it's almost like blessings started to fill up, like you broke the dam. You broke out the dam and the water is flowing and flowing as we're speaking. Earlier, I was speaking to this woman I told you about with a child that passed away, and I felt him. I felt him like filling up myself. I had like butterflies everywhere. I felt him, and this was I started speaking to her like continuously, like I'm doing to you. It's almost like an ecstasy type thing. And she was just like, she felt it too. It was like amazing. It was like a mirror effect, like a light reflection. So I'll reflect her light, she gets back, and then you have the conversations becomes just way more than that. And this is what people have aura. This is why the terminology of high, or people that consume whatever they consume and they call it high, is literally because the soul does get higher. You feel almost like ascending outside your body. That's what people say light when they have ND, because they're just literally just halfway coming out and see that. They can see that. But people who are depressed, the light is of a flashlight that you just didn't change batteries for years. You know what I'm talking about? It's I'm barely there. It looks like a little yellowish, like a sunset. That's people are depressed, and this is what I'm trying to change.
So you have healed different people?
Yeah, I've healed people, but the recent people that I've been giving advice, I know that I make them feel amazing. And hey, I have to take this stage an opportunity to thank my wife, Lisa, my twin flame, for completing me. And she even knows, because these messages that we get from her mom who passed away every single day, I know that deep inside motivates her to help me the way she does. She sees the feedback. She is in this journey with me from the first second. She's part of this. Her soul is taking just as much part. And I think it's worth mentioning because I couldn't have done it without her. And meaning they're doing good things. They're helping the people. They're reaching out. She's helping me because, see, to me, in order to get to the frequencies, I can't deal with everything surrounding that. I get into this realm and I speak to the people, and it takes me a few seconds before I'm able to completely connect, like read the soul, see the soul, and I take it from there.
If someone wants to contact you, what should that person do?
They contact the email that's on the flyer, either through Facebook. We have the Facebook page where, by the way, I don't just help people one-on-one. Every now and then I will put an insight in the video. I'll do a live questions and answer, or I put a quote of mine, just something that goes into my soul. And then, because I don't plan everything I do, I don't write it down. I just go and open the camera and speak, and people can see it there. And if they want consultation, they can message the email or the Facebook, and my wife will be happy to help you. There is no charge. I want people to know that, like, even though that's all I do, you got to make a living, but there is no charge, because I didn't want, it's donation based. People want to donate, they donate. If they don't, they don't. There's a lot of people that can't afford anything. They still get the same help with the same love, and there's no time limitation to sessions. It's until the both souls get to an agreement that, hey, we're in alignment. And that's what I know, that I can just move on and let them continue their journey.
Okay, so I will include the link to your Facebook page and your email address. So if someone's interested, they can contact you. I really appreciate you giving me your time and explaining everything so clearly.
I'm sorry for interrupting you, but you know what I think too? Is this, I'm just getting it now myself. You mentioned you want to, if you ever decide to write a book, or if you ever decide to, off record, you should also write a script, a movie script. For some reason, I see you doing something well when it comes to that. I don't know why. Maybe I'm wrong, but it just went through, and I wanted to tell you that.
Great.
Think about that direction.
Okay.
Use your writing,
nice.
Expand out, branch out. Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be okay.
Well, thanks a lot. I appreciate you coming here.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.